And I was listening to that song this morning, "In the shadows we'll find the work to do." I realized literally the entire next series is based on that line. How much of our lives are the unconscious, the stuff we're not aware of, that hijacks, that takes over. I'm having this moment with my family. My dad's navigating old age, some dementia, things like that. He's 84, so it's not outside of the realm of normal. But it was fascinating to watch. I'm feeling myself reacting to different things. My siblings do something and I react. Like, oh, there's the unconscious. My shadow taking over, and now I'm freaking out, now I'm mad, now I'm plotting revenge. If you're listening to this, my sister and brother, please, I'll figure it out. But how much of our lives, the unconscious, is hijacking us? And because it's not unconscious, we're not conscious of it. That's the tricky part. Okay, that's the series coming up. It's called The Undercurrent. Thank you. We're blessed to have someone write the songs for our whole spiritual journey. Okay, today I want to flip someplace different. Normally I start with a story. Today I'm going to start with a story, but it's a different story. It's a story from the Bible. Normally when you read this, it's called Feeding the 5,000. I'm just going to do a Sunday school check. Who grew up in Sunday school and knows the word feeding the 5,000? Please just put up your hand quickly. Okay. Feeding the 5,000. The story, according to the Meadow, is this. The Meadow, remember, it's traditional community, traditional church. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not friend church. When the Meadow tells the Feeding of the 5,000 story, it's this. There's 5,000 families, and Jesus feeds them all with 5 loaves and 2 fish. Anyone heard that part of the story, right? It's a story about magic. It's a story about miracles. It's a story about like alakazam, alakazoo, like everything's perfect. Except that's not actually the story. In fact, if you read the story that way, I think you're missing the gold in the story for us. So let me rewind. That actually happens. The alakazam part happens. At least that's how the story tells. But let's go backwards. Jesus is having some me time. It's literally, he's tired. And so he takes some time away. But there's a group of people who need him. And so he goes, okay, I'll come and be with you. So now we're feeling this I, them, balance to we business that we talk about a lot. And he spends some time with them. Now, if you grew up in the Meadow, he's preaching to them. It doesn't say that in the Gospel of Matthew. He's actually making sure that their needs are met. He's helping them. Not preaching. At the end of the day, a bunch of his students, which probably are us in the story, we say, thinking we're good human beings, hey, Jesus, it's been a long day. Let's send everyone home so they can get something to eat, because I'm getting a little peckish, frankly. So let's send them away. And Jesus does this thing. He stops them and he says, you feed them. So what would you do if I told you that we're having 5,000 families here today and you're responsible to feed them? What happens is they go, I don't know, Jesus, I don't know what to do. And Jesus goes, oh, you guys, you never figure this out. Okay, alakazam, alakazoo, feed the people. But you see how the story goes? It doesn't start, the purpose of the story isn't this. That's oh, geez, you guys never get this right. The story is actually about this moment. You feed them. You take water to a bunch of people you don't know, who are not going to give anything in return, who don't even know you. You take care of them. And suddenly the story goes from, wait a second, how do we get the magic happening, to how are we the magic? What was the line? We are the divine light. Well, that changes things, doesn't it? Except for the fact that we're kind of going, okay, but the whole point of religion and spirituality and all this stuff is to get the big older brother who's got your back. I have an older brother, he's 3 years older than me. He basically looks like me, 10% bigger. Same bald, funny looking head, everything's the same. So he's always bigger than me, and this is gonna surprise you all, I had a bit of a mouth on me when I was a kid. Come on, you're all supposed to be like, no, Vince, come on, I can't see that. A little bit of a mouth. And I sometimes wrote checks with that mouth that I could not cover. So as my butt's getting handed to me, some guy's beating the crap out of me, my brother would let it go on for a little time and be like, okay, Vince, have you learned your lesson? And then he'd reach in and he'd grab the person and pull them off me, and then sometimes take me to the hospital to get stitches. But again, those scars in the back of my head are my own fault. But my brother was this kind of guy who, he let it happen a little bit, and then he'd pull it off me and be like, okay, that's enough. He's learned his lesson. How many of us have a conception of God that's like my brother? If we do just the right thing, if we pray the right prayers, if we do something, he's going to come in or she's going to come in and pull the whatever is going on off me. Now, let's be honest. That's a beautiful story in a sense, isn't it? When life's really crappy, when we're feeling hopeless and powerless, and the world is not in any way going the way we need it to, is there not a moment where we reach up to some conception of God and go, please, I have no way to handle this? But the question today is that plan A or plan B? In the feeding of the 5,000 story, I think that's plan B. People, the last couple of weeks we've been looking at this Friend Church manifesto. I didn't put up my notes because you guys can't read it anyways. That's on you, but whatever. I wrote down all the things that we talked about and said, what are the things in this world that are not working, that are wrong, that are bad? I wrote down school shootings for whatever reason that was in my mind, and then Tumbler Ridge happened 3 days later. We look at this list and think, these are things that should not be in this world. No. Let me say it differently. I don't want these things to be in the world. There's things like injustices, people using power to hurt other people, abuse, rape. All these things that we look at and go, this is not the way I want the world to be. And in some senses, if it worked this way, we could just all say something, say a prayer, and some divine entity would come and live around every school in the entire world. They would just live around the school, and any school shooters would come, they'd zap them or something like that. I don't know. Who would be for that? I would be all over that one. And yet, it doesn't seem to be happening. So what in the world do we do? What do we do in a world that you go, it shouldn't be this way. I don't want it to be this way. I don't want that diagnosis. I don't want my dad to be dealing with dementia. I don't want all these things. And yet, they're here. We're wrestling with them every day. What do we do? I had some guy talk to me the other day. He's like, Vince. If you just did things right, it would work out. These divine pieces would work out for you. If you just prayed right or believed right or had the right theology or had the right conception of God or anyone ever heard somebody kind of intimate this, kind of this sense of yeah, that's on you. You're not doing it right. That's why bad things are happening. I don't love that answer. It's based on, well, let's say, it's partly based on this idea that our tradition is designed to help us believe in a way that a super being will take care of us, now or after we die. I understand I'm making a bit of a straw man here, but let me do it openly. Because this thinking still permeates the Christian tradition. It still permeates our thinking sometimes. And if Friends Church is going to be an entity or a group that inspires, do we want to inspire this? Is this what we're trying to inspire? There's this story, actually it's a line, it comes from a piece, but the end of the line, it's called the Great Commission. One could say it this way. Some people see it as the ultimate line that makes sure some conception of God is happy with you. I had a couple kids show up a couple weeks ago, grill me about my message. And again, I'm comfortable with people disagreeing. You guys should all disagree with me. We have a great conversation. But these kids were doing it a little bit differently. They were kind of like, you're doing it wrong, and let me school you on how to do it right. And I could see this in them. They were like, no, we have it figured out. You just don't have it figured out. And if you have it figured out, if you're certain about this, everything's going to work out. The Great Commission back in the 70s, there's a translation of the Bible called the New Revised Standard, New Revised Version, NIV. Anyone heard of the NIV version? Yeah, that was like the cool one back in the day. Written in 70s English. I was born in the 70s. English has changed since then. But the way the translators in the New International Version wrote the Great Commission, this is how they wrote it. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. I think creation means humans, but because I don't think my cat needs to hear the gospel, but maybe. My cat, there's a demon in that cat sometimes. Go into all the world and preach the gospel. Those kids coming to me and saying, Vince, you have it wrong. Your beliefs are wrong. Isn't that them being faithful to that? Kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Here's the problem. When I first started studying this, I grew up with this because I grew up in the Meadow. I grew up with this. This was the whole be all and end all of our church. This was the point. If you did this right, everything else is going to go right. And then I get to Bible school, to seminary, and I start learning Greek. And I realize that word preach right there is the Greek word kerusso. And if you look at kerusso, it actually doesn't mean preach. It means proclaim. Can you feel the difference between those words? This is what preaching looks like. You're all doing it wrong, and you're all going to hell unless you do it my way. Right? And I shouldn't, that was a bit glib. Let me take that last. Sorry. Sometimes they say stuff, and I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. Let me back that one up. Rewind that one. It says this, in the most devout way possible. Somebody who believes, who's from the Meadow tradition says, if I convince you that this is the right thing and this is the wrong thing and I can get you to the right thing, then this will be a good thing. That's a nicer way of saying it, isn't it? Now, the problem we talked about 2 weeks ago is there's 70,000 different groups who all have a different right thing. So figuring out which right thing is the right thing is tricky. And that's why we don't hone in on a single right thing. We let your experience hone that. But when you look at it from this point of view, go into all the world and proclaim the gospel. Proclaim looks something different. I don't proclaim that you won the lottery. Preach you won the lottery. Like, Dave, you won the lottery. It's $10 billion. You just won it. That's a proclamation, isn't it? It has a very different feeling than preach. Kerusso doesn't mean preach, it means proclaim. Proclaim something's happened. Now, the second word in that sentence, preach the gospel. Gospel is the word euangelion. Euangelion has a much broader meaning than that. You guys knew I was going to do this because I always do this. It actually means good news. That's a different flavor, isn't it? If I tell you, hey, you go to your doctor, they sit you down, they're like, you have cancer. That is not good news. She's like, nope, not really. Saying to somebody, my theology, my belief system says you're bad and ultimately you're going to go to hell unless you do something that I think you should do, is that good news? I don't know. But telling somebody that they won the lottery, that's good news. And here, let me go one step further. Because when the newest translation came out, the NRSV UE, New Revised Standard Version, Updated Edition, they just released it last year. Watch how they translated the Great Commission. Can you throw it up for me? Go into all the world and proclaim, announce the good news to the whole creation. That has a different feeling too, doesn't it? Let's take this back to the 5,000 people. Jesus says, I want you to take water to these people by feeding them. Tell me something. If you're sitting in a crowd of 5,000 people and someone walks up to you with your favorite sandwich, is that good news? Oh, yeah. What if the Great Commission is not preaching a series of beliefs that someone needs to believe in order to get out of hell and get into some conception of heaven? What if that's not the point of that story? What if the point of the story is this? We show up in people's lives and proclaim the good news is there because we are there. And we are there to help. We're going down to Mexico in a month. We're just finalizing the last round of fundraising, the 50-50. If you didn't get a chance, please do it. We've fundraised for them to get low voltage power. We're now trying to get them a solar hot water tank. Do you think the day that they get to come into their new house that for the first time ever has a door, not just a sheet, a door that they can lock, and they turn on the lights, do you think that in their minds they're going, this is good news in my life, in the lives of my family, Esmeralda and Malin? Did I get the names right? We are good news. Can you see that? We're fundraising for a family, or a woman. She's on disability, 4 kids. She's going to have her 5th kid. Wasn't planned. Has no baby supplies, nothing. Do you think when we show up with a bassinet full of diapers and some clothes, do you think she's thinking, this is good news? Go into all the world and proclaim good news is there because we are there. When we show up into a room and we're regulated, people are freaking out. Last night, this didn't happen. I can tell. I had a rough day. My wife comes home. She's got her life, right? Life's busy. Life's complex. I do not have my poop in a group at all. I am right cranked. Guess how that went? When we're regulated, when we've done the work to deal with our demons and we're in a calm place, we can walk in the room and we are good news just by being there. Go into all the world and proclaim that we are good news. Good news is here because we are here. Jesus says, would you be good news to the 5,000 families here? The students say no. When you look at all the stuff that's going on in the world that we go, this should not be. The question I think the Great Commission is asking is, how can we be good news to them, to people who are dealing with, to these situations? Now here's the problem. I don't know about you, but my brain wants to go into all or nothing. Well, we can't feed 5,000 people. Jesus, you do it. Could you have fed one? That's the line that got me. Can I stop a school shooting? No, I can't. Can I help a family who's dealt with that? That I can do. Can we solve all the problems in the world? No, it doesn't seem to work that way. Can we be a help to one? Yes. There's this famous story. It's actually not from the Bible, but Christians tell it a lot. The Meadow tells it a lot. It's a story about a person in their house, and there's a flood. The flood comes, and it's coming up the bottom, so they run up to the top of their house, and they're sitting on top of their roof. Flood as far as the world or eye can see, right? And they go like this. Please, God, save me. A few minutes later, someone comes up in a canoe. Hey, the flood's brutal. Hop in. I'll take you to land. And the person on the roof says, no, I'm okay. God will take care of me. Okay. Flood keeps coming up. They're now perched on the roof, like the tip of the roof. They're doing one of these, like, whoa, there's water everywhere. The Coast Guard pulls up in a boat. You know, on the bullhorn. Oh, excuse me. Step into the boat. We're going to take you to land. No, I'm all good. God will take care of me. A little while later, they're sitting on top of their chimney. It's the only thing that's out of the water still. A helicopter flies in. Please, let us take you to safety. I'm good. God will take care of me. We all know how this is going to end, right? It ends with this kind of classic conception of an afterlife where the person on the roof is up at the pearly gates. And some conception of God walks up, and the person's like, what the? And the conception of God says this: what do you want from me? I sent you a canoe, I sent you a Coast Guard boat, I sent you a helicopter. And the aphorism is this: God helps those who take care of themselves, or help themselves. That's not the way I want you to pay attention to the story today. Because normally, we're the character on the roof, doing the... But today, I don't want us to be that character. I want us to think about us as the character who's paddling the canoe. And you see somebody who needs help, and you're like, hey, hop in. You're the person whose career is to help people. You're on the Coast Guard ship saying, we're here to help you. Please, we see you. We see you need help. We can help you. We can take water. We can be good news. We're the people in the helicopter searching for the people, saying, how can we help? Friend Church exists to inspire us to be good news to the world around us. Not to get stuck in this, like, although there's times when that's all that we got. And that's okay. But we go, no. How can we be good news? We call it an action-oriented spirituality. This is a prayer-oriented spirituality. Action-oriented says, how can I do something in this world to be good news? Could it be today that you are the good news, you are the canoe that someone desperately needs? You're running the ship that could be saving someone's life. And again, it sounds very big and grandiose, but look at it from a simple way. You're standing in front of 5,000 families, and you can feed only one, but you do it. We do it. We are a community who takes water, which means we are good news to the world around us. Friend Church 2.0 started with this question. If we closed our doors, who would care? That's worth thinking deeply about. If I wasn't following my spiritual tradition, whatever that is for me, would anyone care? Or in fact, would people around me go, thank goodness, I'm so sick of this. I was going to say a-hole, but I'm so sick of this guy preaching to me all the time. Friend Church 3.0 has that at its core. It says our aim, this whole aim of our community right here is saying, taking water. We will be a community that makes the world around us a better place. We will be good news to the world. It's not saying that this is a martyrdom thing or whatever. If you look at your life, if this is your life right here with your arms, and you look inside of it, and all you see, and you put all of your life in there, your relationships, your health, your mental health, your financial health, everything. If you look in there and all you see is just chaos that's sucking you down, don't worry, we will help. We will create a space inside that's healthy so that you can lift your head up and start seeing the world around and say, how can I be good news here? That's our aim. It's just a story. It's not the only story. It's not the right story. If someone's like, Vince, you've read the whole Bible and that's the story you get, that's the only story. No. It's a story. But it's a beautiful story. Go into all the world and proclaim that good news is here right now, because I am here. Because we are here. That's how we read everything. Now, we do it through the Christian tradition. Some people say to me, why, Vince, why? So much bad things have happened in the name of Christianity, and yet, religion has more power than almost anything. Can it be used for bad? Of course it can. That's why we start with our aim. We will use it to be good news to the world, to make the world better. Do we think religion is right? No. It's a story. It's a series of stories. Stories too have power. Somebody will martyr themselves for a story. Somebody will forgo sex for their whole life for a story. People will give up almost anything for the right story. So even though we say spirituality is a story, religion is a story, that doesn't mean it doesn't have power. In fact, if anything, it has more power than ever. But what it does is it doesn't say we are right. It says, no, we are connecting to this story. We're not sitting on street corners yelling at people saying, we have it all figured out. We're saying, no, here's a story that inspires me. Does it inspire you too? We're honest about what are our beliefs and what can be proven. We also believe that since it's a story and we're unique human beings, the stories that connect to each one of us are probably a little bit different. This is not one size fits all. We talked about the Meadow, the traditional church. Beautiful. For some people, it's like literally the best thing ever. I told you my mom lived in the Meadow. It helped her die with peace. I could not ask for anything more for her. And yet, for whatever reason, we don't fit there. And we climb down the edge of our spirituality, throwing out the things that no longer serve. Or sometimes we just jump off and throw it all away, and then we start from scratch and go, okay, if I have nothing, what would I bring back in? To find a series of stories on the ledge. What stories inspire me? The story of proclaiming good news because I walked in, that is the story I want to be. It's not the story I always am. Finally today, we asked ourselves, could it be that our actions is what's ultimately going to save the world? Each one of us being good news everywhere we go. Not saying that something supernatural might not happen. I don't know how that all works. But I do know that we could have each, in that moment when we were with Jesus and he says, feed the 5,000 families, we probably all could have shared our lunch with at least one. And every one of us sharing our lunch with one over enough time can feed more than 5,000. That's the Friends Church 3.0 manifesto. That's what we're about. That's the life I want to live. And I come here to the gym. Well, actually, my gym is in my office 6 months before I talk to you guys in your gym. How am I doing? How do I become the person I want to be so that I am good news in the world? On that note, we're launching something today. It's called Meet the Need. Do you remember last year we raised a bunch of meat for some people in the Connections community? Same group we run our hampers through. We reached out to them this year and they said, actually, we're okay. We don't need meat this year. We're a little bit bummed out, actually. Until we started talking and saying, hey, do you have anyone in your family or in your friendship or anyone you know who probably needs a little bit of help on the food side? And people just started going, oh yeah, I have this person. They rely on the food bank almost exclusively. I have this family who every month they are not covering what they can. I have this person who literally just lost their job, and having some nutrition that's life-changing for them. We said, what if instead of us assigning families, what if we nominate families? Nominate people. Nominate ourselves. Just because you're here does not mean everything is rosy. So go on here, friendschurch.ca/meet. Go on your phone. You can nominate someone. We'll take care of all this stuff. We'll fundraise for meat. We'll bring it out to them. You can deliver it. We can deliver it for you in a very anonymous way that basically says, hey, here's some nutrition. Please, let us be good news. Your brain's probably going to want to say, oh, I could nominate this person, but I don't know if they'd want it, or, right? Feeding 5,000, Jesus, you should do it. No. Take this moment to say, no, I will do something. The worst case scenario is they're offended because they got some free meat. Are we okay with that? friendschurch.ca/meet. Let's be good news to the people all around us. Because that's at the heart of Friend Church. May we be people who find the health in their life such that we can be good news to the world around us. This is the spiritual gym. You don't come here necessarily just to chill out and relax, although there's beautiful music and a lot of things. You come here to do the work to become this. Now, for many of us, myself included, there's a whole part of me that does not want to do this. We call it immunity to change. I have a part that's directly against me taking water. It's very comfortable thinking only about me, and who cares about anyone else? So part of the work we do is to find those unconscious parts. So if you want to be a water carrier, if this is the journey, the spiritual journey you want to be on, come back next week. We're going to start the next series where we start to dig into the unconscious. Paul, one of the authors in the Bible, calls it sin, not I did something wrong sin, capital S sin, this like force that kind of takes us over and causes us to not be the person we want to be. We're going to start to learn about those parts of ourselves, start to heal those parts of ourselves. This is the stuff that changes our lives and the world around us. Well, come on back next week. It's going to be fun. Have a great week, everyone.